Hi, my name is Lila. I live in a little white house in Victoria, British Columbia with my mommy and daddy. I'm a good girl. I always say please and thank you, and I never get in trouble. But what happened from an Easter 10 years ago was scary. It all started the night before Easter. I was so excited. Every year my parents hide little chocolate eggs around the house and I run around in my pajamas in the morning trying to find them all. That night, I was in bed, holding my bunny plushie, Floppy. I heard mommy and daddy whispering downstairs and tiptoeing around. I giggled. "They're hiding the eggs," I whispered to Floppy. Then I heard mommy say from the living room, "Let's put one in her closet. That'll be a fun surprise." I smiled really big. I shut my eyes, pulled the blanket up to my nose, and pretended to be asleep. I heard soft footsteps coming up the stairs. Creak, creak. The door opened, just a little. I didn't move. It was Daddy. I peeked just a tiny bit and saw him near my closet. He rustled around in my toy box and slipped something into the desk drawer. Then, just as slowly, he tiptoed back out and shut the door. I was too excited to sleep, but soon I did. I don't know what time it was, but something woke me up. Creak! I blinked. My room was dark, but the moon was shining through the curtains. I thought it was Daddy again. But then I saw it. The door opened, by itself, and someone came in. But it wasn't Daddy. It wasn't Mommy. It was tall, too tall, and it had something on its head. Long, wiggly, bunny ears. My whole body froze. I was too scared to breathe. The figure walked slowly into my room. The moonlight hit it just enough for me to see. It was wearing a big coat and long gloves, but I couldn't see its face, just its shadow. Then, I heard it breathe. It was loud and slow, and it sounded like it came from a deep, dark place. I shut my eyes tight. Then it spoke. Its voice was scratchy and deep and made my tummy twist. It whispered, "Don't open your eyes. Let me see your face." I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. Then I felt the blanket slowly move off my head. Then I felt it, its finger. It was gloved, and it touched my cheek. It was cold. I shook. My lips wobbled. I didn't make a sound. Then the voice said, "You're a good girl. Hold out your hand." I didn't want to, but I did. The gloved hand placed something in my palm. It felt soft, like a tiny plushie, but it was cold, too cold. Then the voice said, "Don't look at it until morning." "Okay," I whispered. "Do you swear on your life?" I gulped. I swear." The voice let out a creepy giggle. Then it said, "What do you say when you get a gift?" I said, in the tiniest voice, "Thank you, Mr. Easter Bunny." It laughed again. "Tell Mommy and Daddy I said hello." And then, it left. I heard the stairs creak again. The door downstairs opened, then shut. I cried, quietly, all night. When I woke up, my mommy was already in my room. She was screaming. A cup dropped from her hand and broke on the floor. She picked me up fast and held me tight. I told her, "Mommy, the Easter Bunny came, but he scared me." She shook her head. No, baby. Don't look. Don't look." But I turned. And that's when I saw it. The gift from the Easter Bunny. It wasn't in my hand anymore. It was lying on the floor. A little dead yellow chick. Its feathers were ruffled. Its eyes were closed. It wasn't sleeping. It was gone. And I screamed. I screamed so loud. Mommy cried too. I never found chocolate eggs that year. And now, every Easter, I leave my lights on, because I know he's still out there. The Easter Bunny came to Victoria, and he might come back. Hi, my name is Nico, and when I was 6 years old, something really scary happened to me. It was right before Easter, and all I wanted was a big chocolate bunny. You know, the kind with the shiny wrapper and the little sugar eyes. I asked my dad if he could take me to the store in Mobile, the one called Rite Aid, to get one. But he said, "I'm busy. I said, "I'll just walk." He shrugged and said, "Fine." He didn't really care much. He never did. So I got my little backpack, put on my shoes, and started walking. It was about 2 miles from our little house in the countryside to the store. There weren't a lot of other houses on the way, just fields, some trees, and wind that made spooky whooshing sounds when it blew through the grass. I felt brave. I kept saying to myself, "Just walk fast. Chocolate bunny. Just get the chocolate bunny." But then, things got scary. When I got to a big 4-way road with stop signs on all sides, I could finally see the store in the distance. It was just past a parking lot. I felt excited. That's when I saw it. A small green truck. It looked old and dusty. It pulled up slowly toward the stop sign. I looked at the truck, and the truck looked at me. There were 2 men inside. The one sitting closest to me, the one in the passenger seat, was pointing at me, over and over. His finger, straight and stiff, like he was saying, "That one. Get that one." They didn't smile. They didn't wave. They just stared. I got a weird feeling in my tummy. Something felt bad. I tried to walk faster. I turned toward the parking lot beside the road. I thought maybe if I hurried across, I'd be safe. But the green truck turned too. Fast, it swerved into the lot and parked really quick between 2 other cars. Then the scariest thing happened. The man in the passenger seat jumped out. He ducked down low like he was playing hide and seek, but worse. His hands were out like claws, and he was sneaking along the side of their truck. He was waiting for me. My whole body went cold. Then I remembered something my old babysitter, Miss Elaine, always told me. If a stranger tries to grab you, run and yell, "Don't wait, don't ever wait." So I ran. I ran so fast my shoes made slapping sounds on the sidewalk. I skipped the parking lot. I ran straight to the store doors and burst inside. I tried to act calm, but my heart was going boom, boom, boom inside my chest. I walked around the aisles, peeking at toys and Easter stuff, trying to breathe normal again. Then I looked through the big glass doors. The green truck was there, right in front of the store. The men were sitting inside staring at the building, like they were waiting for me to come back out. I thought, they're going to take me. They're going to grab me. I ran to the old lady at the cash register. "Can I call my daddy?" I asked. "Please, I'm scared." She said, "This phone only works for store calls, sorry." I started to cry. Then the manager came. He was tall and had glasses and looked really confused. "What's going on?" he asked. I pointed to the door. "Those men are trying to get me." He looked out the door. His face got serious. "Here," he said, pulling out his cell phone. "Call your dad. Right now." I called. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. "Dad!" I shouted. "Please come get me. There's bad men outside." He said, "I'll send your brothers." About 10 minutes later, my big brothers showed up. They had angry faces and walked around, but the green truck was gone. Just gone. I told everyone what happened. I thought they'd be really scared like I was, but they just kind of said, "Weird. Okay." And then they stopped talking about it. No one believed me. No one. But I know what I saw. Those men were going to grab me. They were hiding and waiting. And sometimes I think, what if I didn't run? What if they got me? And what if they got some other kid later that day? I still dream about that green truck sometimes. When I see one driving by, my chest gets tight, and I remember that scary finger pointing at me. Like I was a toy they wanted to steal. Hi, my name is Toby. I was 6 years old when this happened. It was Easter. My family did something kind of spooky. We drove all the way to Gatlinburg, Tennessee to visit my Uncle Dan. He has a big house that sits all by itself with woods all around it. Like, the kind of woods where it's really quiet and kind of creepy when it gets dark. We go there every Easter, but this time, something bad happened. Uncle Dan's house is super big, and lots of my family was there. My cousins were all running around and yelling, but the only cousin I really like is Ben. He's 7, and he's always nice to me. He doesn't make fun of me for not liking bugs or dirt or loud stuff. He always sticks with me. We were playing downstairs in the basement where the grown-ups couldn't bug us. There's a pool table down there and Ben was showing me how to play. While we were playing, he started talking about the woods behind Uncle Dan's house. "I go back there all the time," Ben said. "There's cool stuff deep in there. You can find old tree forts and even creepy signs." I said, "No thanks. I don't like the woods." But after a while, I got kind of bored. Everyone was doing their own thing, and I didn't want to just sit around, so I said, "Okay, let's go, but only for a little bit." We told Uncle Dan, and he said it was fine. So we went outside, across the grass, and into the woods. At first, it wasn't too scary. There was a little path, and the sun was still out. Ben walked in front like he'd been there a million times. But the deeper we walked, the darker it got. The trees got taller, and the wind made creepy whisper sounds. Then we heard it. Thunk. We both stopped. Thunk. It sounded like something big was hitting a tree. Not like a bird or a branch. It sounded like a giant hammer. Ben whispered, "What was that?" I said, "Let's go back." But he said, "Wait. I want to see." We kept walking. Every few steps, I looked behind us. I was scared. My heart was going boom, boom in my chest. Then Ben stopped. He pointed up. I looked up too, and what I saw made my tummy feel sick. 3 upside-down crosses were nailed way up into the trees. They were too high for someone to reach without a big ladder. They looked old and dark and wrong. Then, I saw something move. I turned my head fast and saw a man. He was just standing there, not smiling, not moving. He had a big beard and wore a red flannel shirt like a lumberjack, but he looked mean. His eyes were dark, and his face was all wrinkly like he hadn't smiled in a million years. Ben stood in front of me and said, "Sorry, we're leaving." The man didn't say anything for a second. Then, in a deep, scary voice, he said, "You shouldn't be here." We ran. We didn't talk. We didn't look back. I was so scared I almost tripped. My hands were shaking. It felt like the woods were watching us. When we got back to the house, we told Uncle Dan everything. But then he said something that made my skin feel cold. He said, "No one like that lives out here. Not that I know of." He even asked if the man followed us. I said I didn't think so, but I wasn't really sure. That night, I went to bed early. I just wanted to sleep and forget about the man and the crosses. But I woke up super early the next morning. It was still dark outside. I looked out the big window in Uncle Dan's study, and I saw something. There was a tiny flickering light at the edge of the woods. It looked like fire. I kept staring, trying to figure it out. Then I saw them. 3 people. They were standing by the trees. They were holding tiny torches. They weren't moving. They weren't talking. They were just staring at me. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. My voice felt stuck. I ran to Uncle Dan's room and yelled, "There's people outside!" He jumped up, grabbed his hunting rifle, and went to the back deck. But when he got out there, the people were gone. Still, he fired his rifle into the sky. Bang! 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 The whole house woke up. Everyone was running around and asking what happened. I just sat there, hugging my knees, trying not to cry. Easter morning was ruined. Nobody wanted to hunt for eggs or eat pancakes. Everyone was too nervous. Later that day, we left. I was so happy to get in the car and drive far, far away from those woods. Uncle Dan says he hasn't seen anything weird since then. But I still wonder, who were those people? And why were they watching me? And most of all, what would have happened if we didn't run? Hi, my name is Timmy, and something really scary happened to me years ago. It was Easter. I was 6 years old during that time, and I went to visit my best friend Ben on Padre Island. That's a real place in Texas where there are beaches, birds, and lots of sand. Ben's backyard is really big. Behind it, there are trees. Lots of them. And it gets dark out there at night. We were excited because Ben's mom said we could have a sleepover and play a special Easter egg game outside. But I wish we didn't play. There were 5 of us. Me, Ben, Danny, Sammy, and Luke. Ben's mom and dad went to visit his grandma that night, so we were all alone. We made up a silly game. It was like hide and seek, but with Easter eggs. One team hides the eggs, and the other team has to find them. But here's the twist. You also have to hide yourself. And it was nighttime. We had flashlights, and it was getting dark, really fast. Ben said we could play in his backyard and the woods behind it. The woods are next to a sandy trail that leads to the beach. Just don't go too far, Ben said. The beach is spooky at night. We picked teams. Me, Ben, and Luke were the seekers. We had to find Danny and Sammy and their hidden eggs. Ben's mom had a big box of plastic Easter eggs from last year. We grabbed a few, and the game began. It was getting darker now, and the moon was rising. The trees made spooky shadows on the ground. I walked alone into the woods with my flashlight off. I didn't want anyone to see me. I tiptoed past a big rock and some twisty trees. It was so quiet. I could only hear the wind and the sound of my feet crunching leaves. Then, I saw something. There was a shape. A shadow crouching behind a tree. It wasn't moving. I thought maybe it was Danny. He liked to hide close by and trick people. So I crept up behind him, real sneaky. I got close. I reached out my hand and tapped him on the shoulder. "Gotcha!" I shouted. But when he turned around, it wasn't Danny. It wasn't any of my friends. It was a man, a real grown-up man. His hair was messy and shiny like it was wet. His eyes were open wide, and they didn't blink. His shirt was ripped, and he smelled like trash. I froze. I couldn't move. Then he jumped at me. He pushed me down onto the ground. I screamed, "Help!" But he put his hands around my neck and started squeezing. I couldn't breathe. I was scared. I thought I was going to be gone forever. Then, a flashlight. A bright beam of light hit the trees. It was getting closer. The scary man looked up. He saw the light. And then, he ran. He ran into the woods and disappeared. I laid there shaking and crying. Ben came running with his flashlight. "Timmy!" he yelled. "Are you okay?" He picked me up and gave me a hug. I told him everything. Then we ran back to the house. My legs were shaking. When we got inside, we called the others on the walkie-talkies. Everyone came back right away. I told them what happened, and then Sammy said something that made my heart drop. Before the game even started, he saw two people walking in the woods. Two grown-ups. He thought it was just us being silly and breaking the rules, but it wasn't. We all looked at each other. Me, Ben, Luke, Sammy, Danny. None of us had walked in the woods together. That meant there were at least 3 strangers in the woods. One who attacked me, and 2 more hiding in the dark. Ben said, "We have to tell the police." But then Ben looked really serious and said, "We can't. My parents said I'm not allowed to have friends over." "I'll get in so much trouble," I said. "But I almost died." Ben looked sad, but he shook his head. The others didn't know what to do, so we didn't call anyone. We just went to bed. I left early the next morning. I didn't say goodbye. A week later, Ben told us he went back out to collect the eggs. He said he was scared but didn't want to leave them in the woods. He laughed about it, but I didn't. I still think about those men. Who were they? Why were they out there? What if they come back next Easter? Now I'm older. I live far away. But Easter is coming again soon. And I still get scared when I see Easter eggs, because I know what happened in those woods on Padre Island. And I'll never forget. Hi, my name is Liam, and this happened when I was really little, like only 5 years old. It was Easter Sunday, and my family went to a big church in Vancouver, Canada, right near a place called Stanley Park. Our church was old and made of dark brown bricks, with huge wooden doors and colorful glass windows that glowed in the sun. Everyone dressed up nice, and people smiled a lot. I liked Easter at church because we always got chocolate, and there were egg hunts after the service. But this Easter, it was different. This Easter was scary. The grown-ups went upstairs to the big church room. but all us kids went downstairs to the classrooms. The church had a basement with long hallways and doors on each side. That's where we had our Easter fun. The walls were covered in drawings of bunnies and Jesus, and there were paper lambs taped to the doors. Some teachers wore bunny ears. Everyone was happy, except me, because something bad was about to happen. While we were coloring pictures of Easter eggs, I felt like I had to go to the bathroom. I raised my hand, and the teacher said, "Okay, Liam, you know where it is." I nodded and walked down the hallway alone. It was so quiet, just the buzzing sound of the lights and my shoes on the floor. The bathrooms were way at the end. The hallway got dimmer there. One door said boys, and the other said girls. Right beside them was a big gray metal door that led outside. They told us never open it because it would lock and we couldn't get back in. I went inside the bathroom and sat in a stall. That's when I heard it. Scrapey. It was coming from the next stall. Scrapey. Not a normal sound. It was like something was dragging metal across the wall. I got really quiet. I didn't move. I thought, maybe it's another kid? But it didn't sound like a kid. It sounded wrong. When I finished and went to wash my hands, I looked in the mirror, and that's when I saw it. The stall door opened slowly. Re-K. And out stepped a man wearing an Easter bunny costume. But this bunny looked old and dirty. Its fur was gray instead of white, and one of its ears hung all floppy. The eye on the costume was sewn on crooked, and the head tilted to the side like it couldn't see right. I didn't feel scared at first. I thought maybe it was part of the Easter fun. I even smiled. I said, "Hi." But the bunny didn't say anything. He just stared at me, not moving. Then very slowly, he lifted his arm and pointed at the gray door. And that's when he said, in a soft, scratchy voice, "You're the lucky chosen child. I have a gift for you. Outside." My heart thumped. I didn't know it was dangerous. I thought I was special. I nodded and followed him. I opened the heavy gray door. I shouldn't have. He led me across the back of the parking lot. That's when I saw it. Another bunny. A second. Easter bunny stepped out from behind a car near the dumpster. I froze. My brain didn't understand. Why were there two Easter bunnies? Why were they both outside and hiding? Then the man next to me grabbed my hand. That's when I felt it. Fear. This wasn't a game. This wasn't fun. And then I heard it. "Liam!" It was Miss Carla, one of the teachers. She was outside with a basket, maybe setting up eggs. She saw me. She screamed. It was the scariest scream I've ever heard. The bunny let go of me. I ran. I ran so fast my shoes almost flew off. I ran straight into Miss Carla's arms. She hugged me tight and said, "What happened?" I looked back just in time to see the bunny men jumping into their car. The tires screeched and they sped away. I told Miss Carla everything. I said, "There was a boy in the back seat. I think they already took someone." She believed me. The police came. I told them the story. They wrote it all down, but they never found the bunnies, or the car, or the boy. Sometimes I wonder, what if I hadn't gone to the bathroom then? What if it had been another kid? And what scares me most is that the bunny knew the church. He knew the bathroom. He knew that door. He was waiting. Now, every time Easter comes, I don't think about chocolate or eggs. I think about that dirty bunny costume, the crooked eye, and the boy in the car. And I thank God I was saved, because I was almost the one who disappeared.